right, my friends, that's 3 tones, 1 amp. Today we're going to be talking about the Sunn 2000S. One of my favorite amps. Got this amp from a guy at Newark Airport. I saw it on eBay and I was like, hey man, if you take this thing off eBay right now, I'll meet you with your asking price, cash in hand. Guy was cool. He was like, all right, boom. My name is Rich, and this is Groundwork Sound, and I'm a producer. You know, with these videos, I just try to help you guys be better producers, make better music, and I hope that the things I show you guys in these videos, you apply them to your own music and practices, and with intent and with, some due diligence, you'll get some great results. So I personally love the pairing. The rat right in front of the amp really smooths the distortion out, and even though it is a bass amp, I do love using a guitar on it. And the Les Paul is really cool because it gives you a nice big fat, warm tone, but also has enough bite to still cut through without being really harsh. So before we even get to turning the pedal on, let's talk about the clean tone. I'm just using the Les Paul, going right into the rat, going right into the Sunn. I'm using my Marshall cab. I have 2 mics on it, an SM57 and a MD421 in the Fredman formation. So yeah, this is like the first thing you really want to start with. Something that already sounds good right from the jump. I think this has enough low end and enough mid and enough highs to really compensate for when I turn the pedal on, that it's only going to add it. Sometimes you turn a distortion pedal on and if you have your knobs all messed up, it's just going to make it sound worse. So the first thing you can do is start with a nice foundational tone. This amp has 4 inputs, 2 bright and 2 normal, a low and a high on each channel. I'm in the high bright, or even though I'm playing guitar, I'm going through a bass amp. So it does tend to, like I said, roll off those highs a little bit, but in a nice way as far as I'm concerned with guitar. So, all right, I got my volume at 3, my treble at about 8.5. I had it on 10 before, but it was kind of like a little bit too much after I gave my ears a rest and heard, the distortion pedal come on. So I dialed it back a little bit, and I think it sounds nicer. The bass, I have it about 3.5. The cool thing about this amp is the more you push the bass, it actually, I feel like, does push the power section, or you're getting a bit more push out of the amp, a little bit more breakup. And then if you couple that with, turn up the volume a little bit, it's going to break up nicely. And the contour, which is basically like the mid control, I have it at about 3. I think it sounds real nice. Awesome. So now that we got that, let's turn our pedal on. The first thing we're going to do is level match. We don't want the pedal to be lower or more than our incoming signal. We really want it to match. So I have mine at about like between 2 and 3 on the volume side. If you look at my console again, you'll see it's coming in just a tiny bit hotter. As you push more low frequency notes, you're going to see it bump up a little bit because it's holding more weight, but overall, it's not jumping too much. That's why I kept the bass where it is. And I have my filter knob on the rat all the way to the left, counterclockwise. That is filtering out the low end, and it's giving me a nice bite and like a nice washed, distortion over the top of it. And surprisingly, the chugs are pretty tight. Not super tight, but they're not 100% flubby. You want to get rid of as much flub as possible. This amp does also have a bass boost, which is pretty sweet. We can just check it out just for fun. That's with it on. This is with it off. Sounds pretty awesome with it on, but I would probably have to turn the bass down a little bit more, which would decrease the power of the amp a little bit. I don't know exactly how it's wired, but to me, as long as I've had it, I always felt like it worked like that. Could be a mental thing, who knows, but I'm just trying to do what sounds good. So to me, I turn the bass boost off to leave more room for the actual bass, and this is the tone that I'm left with. this is just the raw sound. When I go to process this, I would probably take out some low end, a little bit of that mud, and I would boost, maybe around 1.5, 3K, just to get a little bit more of that poignant, guitar bite, so it cuts a little bit more through the mix. But I love where it's at. Getting the right clean source and adding the characteristics with intent to get the sound that you're going for. This is something I've dialed in for a long time, but I've tried a million things, different pedals, different amp, cab, guitar combinations, and for this sound, this is the way to go for me. I'd probably I used to have an SG with super distortions in it that sounded even better. It was more high gain, more high output, and I actually felt like it was even tighter. So the guitar, every little bit, everything that you change, whether it's the mic position, guitar, everything's going to make a difference. I could also hand this setup to another guitar player and it's going to sound completely different. Why? Because it's all in the fingers, it's all in the hands, it's all in your technique, how you play. Got to throw a harmonic in there just for good luck. All right, so what did we talk about? We talked about foundational tone. More importantly, really how to apply a distortion pedal to an amp to get the sound that you want. Because, yeah, I've got the Big Muff, I've got the Rat, I've got a Red Witch Fuzz God, an old modded DS1. So there's a lot of different things you can put in front of an amp to get different sounds. And if you really like the main balance of the amp that you're using, go with that. I always loved how this amp sounded with most pedals. It really takes it, and like I said, it almost gives it like a little bit of a compressed sound. It evens it out. It kind of squashes it a little bit, but in a good way. I basically just found the pedal and guitar combo that, in my opinion, worked the best. I like to have a really simple setup: guitar into a distortion pedal or right into an amp with distortion. Match it with the right cab, boom. It's just, for me, it's less that can go wrong, and I'm a pretty straightforward player. I'll probably use like a delay and a reverb, maybe a phaser in my effects section, but that's about it. Like I said, it's all about intent and setting that intent and following through, trying a bunch of different stuff to see what works, and then tossing out what doesn't. This is my regular tone. I did record an Electric Wizard riff, just for reference. So using this formation, I got a SM57 and an MD421. I got one pass using both mics, pan to the left, and I have another pass, pan to the right. You're kind of treating each one as a different player, right? I like these two mics together because they both fill in where the other one kind of lacks. They compensate for one another. So when you put them together, it creates a really nice, even, full, huge sound. Check it out. Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. I used to record stuff like this and listen back, and I'm like, why doesn't it sound anything like what I'm hearing in the room? I realize now it was my the mic position, like the way I was recording it, the level, how I was even just panning stuff. I have no processing on this. That's like one of the things I really try to do in these videos. It's all about getting a good sound at the source before you really add anything. If you can mic your drums and all you do is pan and level them and they sound really good out the gate, you're in a great position. Same goes for guitar, bass, vocals, everything. I think taking these principles and applying them to your own practices will really help you get there a lot faster and get you closer to the results that you're going for. Don't just kind of settle for something that's close enough and hope, people get the point. You're an artist. You have an intentional message to get across. So you should give your music, give your art that respect, to at least put in the time to get it there and translate what you're trying to translate to your audience. So once again, let's check this out. I could probably afford to use a little bit less gain because as you start to record high gain amps and start to layer everything, that gain is really going to build up. So I know it might hurt a little bit to dial the gain knob back when you're playing, but it's gonna do you better in the long run. To me, this is like a big, nice, full, thick sound, but there's enough room for bass underneath. And when I go into start adding EQ and compression and panning everything, I think it's really gonna come together nicely. So that's been my whole little spiel on the Sunn 2000S. More importantly, applying pedals to a clean tube amp and dialing it in, using the right combination of techniques, practices to really get the best sound that you're going for, because you don't want to sit in the studio all day, record a bunch of stuff and just still be unhappy with it at the end. I mean, that's it. It can be really painful, but don't look at it as a loss. It's a lesson. You're really just figuring out, all right, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work. So boom, when you do find that one thing that does, that's the compound effect. That knowledge is going to be locked in, and that's going to open up understanding for other things that you're trying to figure out in the studio. So if you're trying to get tones like this, trying to record sounds like this, you're having trouble in the studio really dialing things in, hit me up. Let's talk and send me a message. Like I said, with these videos, I really try to help you guys be better producers, be better artists, perform, operate better in the studio as a band, as a solo performer, whatever. I think these principles could be applied globally, especially in the realm of heavy music. That's really what I love. So without further ado, my name's Rich. This is Groundwork Sound. Like, comment, subscribe. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Let me know what other videos you want to see, and see you next time. Peace.